This next video is an addendum to the Nightstand project and is intended to demonstrate just how the Dowelmax system can not only strengthen and simplify the drawer construction, but can streamline the drawer slide assembly. Let's get started. Now, the first thing to do is obviously cut your 4 drawer walls to the required depth and thickness, and then when you're doing that, make sure that these are the longitudinal ones. These are the ones the drawer moves in and out this way. So you want to make sure that this one butts to the inside of this one, so that when the drawer is open, you don't see any laminations or edge grain. After you've done that, you prepare your, now I have this lower panel, it's 1/2 inch thick, but that's too thick because it reduces the depth of your drawer. You'd probably be better with 3/8, but that's what I had, so I used the 1/2 inch. So here you have to do your dado or recess in the same manner. Now, you can do this in a table saw with a dado blade, but I prefer to use the router and a straight carbide tip bit. And take several passes going through and do it that way. Don't attempt to do this. It doesn't work very well. It chips, and so do it this way and take several passes. Okay, now obviously this is a face joint configuration for a drawer. So you mark your faces the same way. These are 2 reference edges, so I've marked this 4 and 4, and these are 2 reference edge and face, so that's 4 and 4, and again with the X in the surfaces to be drilled. So the first one I'll demonstrate is this one here. It's drilling into the edge. Now I prefer 5/8 thick. For drawers, 3/4 just a bit too wide. The 3/4 is fine, but I prefer the 5/8. Now, if you take the formula again, the simple formula, 5/8 halved is 5/16, less 3/8 is minus a 16. So once again, in order to center the 3/8 dowels, or any dowels for that matter, you have to have a 16th plate attached to this inside of the reference bracket. In effect, what you're doing is you're shrinking. With the negative reading, you're shrinking it, and with the positive reading, you expand it. So here we go to our marks here, and now these have already been drilled in, as I say. It's one way of showing you just how accurate this system is. There's nothing comes closer as far as accuracy goes. They won't take out any additional material. And that's that one done. Now, in order to do the opposing one, I'll take this one. I'll show you in the opposite way so that you can see it. What we have to do here, this won't be able to, you can't use it on this in its present form. So what you do is you take the entire clamp assembly off, the studs, the knobs, everything off, and you bolt it back onto into these 2 areas here. And what you have then is this configuration. And this will drill into the face. So you just use the same spaces, the same markings, that to there, and make sure you reference to the block where the check mark is, not to here. A lot of people make the mistake of aligning it to here, and it throws the whole thing out. You reference to the block, and now you reference there, clamp it, and then you drill 1, 2, 3, and 4, exactly the same as you did for the other one. Very straightforward. And that's more or less all there is to it. So And this, with all this, is so accurate. And if you're careful with all your thicknesses and your lengths, this should be absolutely square when it's finished. And you also make sure that this lower plate is absolutely square and true, so that helps. If there's a slight misalignment in the drawer, it will be perfect. I'm pretty confident that this will be really good. That's absolutely perfect. So that's the drawer finish. So obviously the fascia plate goes on here, is attached from the inside, and that's one very strong drawer. I've been constructing drawer arrangements now for years, and I've tried all sorts of variations. This new one from Dowelmax, I think, is really quite efficient. When I'm building a drawer, there's 4 things I try to achieve. I try to avoid the visibility of laminations or end grain. I like an accurate stop for the open and closed position. I don't like the drawer dropping when it's fully open. And last and most importantly, I like a nice, smooth, silky operation. As I say, I think this new design meets all these requirements. So let's get started. Now this is the basic design here. We have 2 3/8 by 1.5 inch tracks. We have what I call a spool or a shuttle. This is from Richelieu and hardware, and it's cut. There's a little longer, but 22 inches long, but I've cut this into about 3 inches. And this slides up and down within this track. Of course, that's the wrong position. It actually goes underneath, and it just protrudes slightly above these 2 tracks, and you attach it by screws to the underside of the drawer once you've got it absolutely aligned perfectly. But that's the basic idea. Very, very smooth. Once there's some silicone on that, it's extremely smooth. Now, to start with, this is obviously the front part of the drawer, the drawer fascia, and this is the rear rail. And we have to get these absolutely level for the drawer placement. Now, before you start, when you've done it, when you've got all your dowels and dowel fastenings in place, you dry fit the assembly, and then you find your center on the drawer opening, find your center, and transfer that to the back end, the center. I use another straight edge on here and transfer this center here to this one over here. Now, once you've done that, that's your center line. The thickness of the shuttle here, this position, is 9/16, and you want it exactly 9/16 or just slightly more than 9/16 to fit properly. So it's 9/16 wide, so what you do is you move out 932 on one side and 932 on the other side. I use a digital caliper and mark it and put your line on there. And that's your alignment. The same over here, exactly the same. This is it here. You could do the rail first, the track first, and once again you put your marks on there. I've got 3 here, 3 there. Put this goes onto here now, and so you drill 1 and 2, and that gives you a proper alignment. Now these are, once again, go back to the original formula, the simple formula. These are 3/8 thick by 1.5 wide, and we fit in 1/4 inch dowels. Now 3/8 halved is 3/16, minus 3/8 is minus 3/16. So we have to shrink the device by 3/16. So I install the 3/16 in spaces on the front here. These are fastened to the reference bracket, and that gives you your proper alignment. And you may think that's a bit near the edge, but it's not. It's absolutely perfect for what we need. 3 to there, like that. Now with this, here we have our line here. You remember, you always do your line on the surface to be drilled. I've put this projection on here to accommodate. It's exactly the same height as the front area here. I don't normally use this because usually what I do is a raised panel assembly at the back, and I make it 1.5 inches, which is identical to that, and I don't need this. But for this particular case, I had to add this to makes the assembly simpler. So what you do here, you've got your line here, and you go to your check marks, and you just move that up to the line, the center of the line, and drill 1 and 2, and do the same on the other side. I usually put, when I'm doing this one, I usually put this back in, make sure it's aligned, and this is this piece separated or cut off or milled or whatever, and that goes in here. Then I bring that in, maybe give it just a fraction of clearance, clamp it up, and drill 1 and 2 again. And you do exactly the same on this other side, and that's basically the system. 4. Now the final thing is to streamline the drawer slide assembly. I use 4 16th by 3/8 runners, and these are glued. Be careful to glue all on the whole surface, and then hold it down with painter's tape while it dries. Now there's 4 of these, 1 on each side, and there's 2 in the center here. Now these 2 are very important. Don't omit these, because these 2 runners here slide on these the 2 tracks, and if they weren't there, when the drawer is fully closed, it will tip down slightly and affect the front alignment. So they're really important. Then when this is all done, I usually sand it down to 300, 320, or even 400, and then apply some silicone, and this gives you a really nice silky smooth movement of the drawer.